I'm Glenn, average fisherman, average Joe, and this round, what we're talking about, we're talking tandem rigs. So, what is a tandem rig? In particular, it's basically fishing two flies at once. And what I want to do is just show you, demo how I like setting up a tandem rig. In this case, a lead fishing fly as well as a trailing fishing fly. I'm going to give you some B-roll that'll show how yours truly used it out in the field, as well as some key things that I like using when it comes to a tandem rig. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of how I'm going to set one up. So here is, I'm going to call it the lead fly. Okay, got a big hook on there. And this one is going to be the trailing fly right there. Okay, and what I'm using, at least to illustrate, is some Dacron tying thread right here, or fly line backing. Okay, and I'm going to just talk about how I like setting them up and then go into some more detail there. Okay, so with that, the first thing I want to do is, when you set up your tandem rig, you'll start out with your lead fly, okay? And you'll have your length of line. In this case, as a rule of thumb, I like just doing the hang loose symbol, and that usually gets me what I need. Also, a good takeaway is to start out with, I'd say maybe a foot, maybe 18-inch long length as a starting point. And then what I like doing is setting up a clinch knot, improved clinch knot on one end, and then I keep the line free. If I'm prepping, especially during the trout stocking season in the winter, I'll go ahead and put on a fly on the end. So in this example, I'm going to just put the trailing fly on, and we'll just do a quick, I'll just do a quick improved clinch knot for now. All right, and have it here shortly. Okay, and the key thing about the tandem rig is there are so many ways that getting two flies versus one will get you some more fishies. All right, so I've got an improved clinch knot, got my trailing fly, and I've got my lead fly. All I'll do is take that improved clinch knot, pre-tied, and pull tight, and there you go. There is my tandem rig. All right, let me shift over to a close-up. All right, so lead fly right there, using an improved clinch knot, and then another improved clinch knot, or just whatever knot you like tying for your fishing flies right there. This is my trailing fly, and there you go. And what happens typically is, this is a streamer right here, and this is usually, be it a nymph or some other smaller fly, and it'll kind of ride a little bit above the other. Okay, just like so. All right, and the plus for that is you're now fishing two flies. So this one's going to be more of an attractor fly, and you'll get hits off it, but at the same time you'll have this one trailing, and let's say they're in the mood for this smaller fly, they'll come and actually eat this one, and you'll get some additional hookups that way. All right, so that is one way to tie a tandem rig. Okay, the other one is, and there are several other knots, but I find this one just to be straightforward because I use it a lot, is right here, a blood knot or barrel knot. Okay, so just think of it as, here is my leader, and here is what I'm going to be attaching as a dropper, and I'll use an improved clinch knot, or correction, a barrel knot or blood knot right here, and I'll snip off one piece of it, and here will be my lead fly, and this will be my trailing fly. In this case, what you'll typically do is you'll have the bigger fly, the streamer in this case, be the lag fly right here, and you'll have this one right here being your lead fly. So just think of it as basically swapping out the flies, and this will ride slower or lower in the water column, and this will ride higher in the water column. Okay, and so there are some other knots to try. There is one that I remember seeing from Orvis that's a really cool one to use, that's similar to or has the same properties as that barrel knot or blood knot, that allows you to put a lead fly and lagging streamer fly. Plus, on top of it, you can always use a uni knot and jam it onto the end if the one breaks off. So that is some of the key takeaways with that. But let's go into some more detail with the tandem rig. Okay, so here is a case where yours truly took the opportunity or the advantage of using a tandem rig. So what happened this round was I'm fishing a river up in Oklahoma that's stocked, seasonal stocking of trout, and the trout, I'm using a single fly and I'm getting some strikes, but I'm just not getting it deep enough, and they seem to be turning away from the streamer that I'm using. But instead, when I switch over to a tandem rig, I start getting some better hookups. So let's go ahead and run that video so you have a good idea of what I'm talking about.
We want a tandem rig fly. So anytime we go to this particular river, and we're just not talking of this one section, low water crossing, but this will work across the board as we work the river, is locate the fish. We see them that they're holding deep in the water column.
So in that video, what was working for yours truly was a tandem rig. It's a olive near deer. Let's see if I can grab one real quick right here. Let me flip it over. Oh, dropped it. All right, excuse me. Right there. Okay, that was the lead fly, and then trailing it was a rainbow warrior midge. It's a little tiny guy right here. All right, and that one, let's see if I can get it to focus right there. That one was the trailing fly. All right, so I tied it on a near deer with about that much line behind the near deer using a prickly knot on the bend of the hook of the lead fly. In this case, it was that near deer right here, and then right there was where the rainbow warrior midge was. Yeah, give that one a try. It was working well that day for rainbow trout. It's worked over the years, produced trout over the years, as well as, well, I've got some other fish with it too. Give it a try. Okay, so yeah, I was using a deer with a trailing rainbow warrior midge, and that was what was the key the key to that pattern. That worked on the blue. That's also worked at Beaver's Bend up in Broken Bow, as well as Lower Illinois River going up to Gore, Oklahoma. And what's key about the tandem rig is a lot of times when you are fishing one fly, it's just not enough weight to get it down to where the fish are. But when you put on a tandem rig, well, guess what? That's getting it to where those trout are lurking. And like I was saying, I like, and it's for two reasons, I will typically tie the tandem rig where I'll just use an improved clinch knot and attach it to the lead fly right here, and then I'll just use whatever knot I normally tie for the trailing fly. And this is usually a streamer, and this is usually some type of midge or nymph pattern. Okay, right here. Now what will typically happen is it'll ride in this manner. So this will attract them right here, and this is what they strike. Okay. The other thing is I like to, especially in the cold winter months, is I'll go ahead and set up pre-tie using an improved clinch knot, leaving this opening right here. and then I'll just have a fly of choice. Let's say I want a near deer and a rainbow warrior, maybe a Griffith's net that I'm going to fish wet, RS2, zebra midge. Oh yeah, zebra midge, especially in the was it black zebra midge with the gold ribbing. That one's that's a fish getter in some places. Anyhow, I'll have that pre-tied because in the winter months it gets cold and your fingers are just really, really like thumbs. And next thing you know, you're trying to tie an improved clinch knot, put on a little tiny fly to put on the bend, and it's just not getting you there, and it's taking just way too long, and then you broke off, and now you got to retie. Well, it's nice to go and have these pre-tied because all you do is come up and just add it or put it to the bend of the fly and pull tight, and you're ready to go. All right. That saved me a bunch in the winter months, especially when I've had those frozen rod guides and well, the fish are biting. Just my fingers are just really frozen. All right, so keep that in your back pocket. Improve clinch knot. Have it pre-tied when you're getting ready to hit the river. Okay, now that is, I took the improved clinch knot. I went ahead and cut off the tag end, and this one's ready to go. I just got to put on the fly, and I'm ready to go and pull that tight, and I already have my tandem rig set up. I have my fly of choice here. And as a rule of thumb, usually you know ahead of time, or at least have an idea what to anticipate in a particular river of what they're going to strike. So go ahead and set up a few of those in different sizes and whatnot, as well as different patterns, so that you are more likely going to be willing to switch flies and make adjustments if you have these pre-tied. Okay, let's go ahead and talk more of the tandem rigs. Okay, so there's some various tandem rigs that are out there. These I just made up, just basically some descriptives. In this case, well, I'll just read right through it. A tandem rig fishing flies is one to keep in your back pocket of tips and tricks when pursuing trout. Two fishing flies are tied to your leader and fish simultaneously, with one fishing fly leading the other as it's presented to opportunistic trout lurking in the water. Doesn't have to be trout though; it can be other fish as well. Just keep that in your knowledge base that this thing works not just for trout. There's various ways to set up a tandem rig fishing fly. Above, I show you some different popular setups that are proven effective and for trout. And I'd say, yeah, keep this in your back pocket when it comes to fishing for some trout in the near future. Okay, and just to describe them, you've got the streamer and nymph. That's your classic one that I just showed, where you have that improved clinch knot to the hook bend of the streamer. In this case, it's just showing a woolly bugger. And then I have a trailing, looks like a gold rib hare's ear nymph or some similar type midge fly. And you can see how typically you'll have the fly, in this case that woolly bugger, riding lower in the water column with the trailing midge riding higher up. And you'll be surprised what will bite when they are kind of closed lip about things. And I say 8 to 12 inch monofilament improved clinch knot as your trailing piece. That hang loose symbol makes a good rule of thumb when it comes to using that streamer and nymph rig. But yeah, okay, so that's a streamer and nymph rig. The nymph and streamer, it's the lead nymph, okay? So now you have that gold rib hare's ear nymph or that zebra midge heading up or leading the fly, and you have the streamer riding further down. Okay, I'm saying you can use an uni knot. That's one method. You can also use that that barrel knot or blood knot. Either one works. I tend to like the uni knot mainly because when it breaks off, or even then when I use a barrel knot, blood knot, aka blood knot, I can still use an uni knot to drop another dropper on there if it breaks off or if I need to snip it. Another one to keep in your back pocket, the dry fly dropper. A lot of folks will see them using them with a dry fly and a trailing midge down below 1 to 3 foot, maybe even deeper depending on how the bite's going on. You'll typically hear folks call this the dropper hopper rig. where they're using a Dave's hopper or some similar hopper pattern as that dry fly, um, and also using it sort of like an indicator. And then you've got that trailing midge or trailing fly that's going to be actually fished wet. All right, and then I call this next one the two deer. And the reason why I call it the two deer is you're using a near deer, which is a fishing fly that is tied with a jig fly hook, similar to a woolly bugger, but not. It rides more vertical compared to a woolly bugger that's more of a horizontal retrieve. And additionally, there is the original, the origin or parent to the near deer is the John Deere fly, and that one was used up in Bennett Springs, Missouri. It's a green and yellow fly pattern, tied small, and it's basically some chenille with a little marabou tail on a jig fly hook, tied small, 1/124th ounce, maybe 1/80th ounce, maybe smaller in between those. And what I found several times is by using this setup, this was giving it the weight that I needed to get it down in the water column, especially in some faster water. And that was where the trout were lurking. And this has saved me several times on some potentially, well, slow days, as well as I may have struck out, but hey, this one was able to pull 1 to 5 trout in this case, for yours truly. All right, so those are some things to keep in your back pocket. I've got a further presentation on this. Let me go ahead and run it real quick, and let's just call out some things that may be of interest to the team here.
That these tandem rig fishing flies are a good one to keep in your back pocket. And so we'll be talking about 4 different variations of it, of the tandem rig fishing fly, go into more detail as to how we tie them, as well as the different reasons why we use one in particular. And so we've got the streamer and trailing nymph. Then we have the reverse of that, where it's the nymph and then it's followed by the streamer. And then we have a dry fly that then has a dropper or trailing nymph. And then finally we call it the two deer, which is basically two near deer, or correction, a near deer and a John Deere that worked recently well for us on the Blue River. Okay, so first up is the streamer and nymph tandem rig. This one has a lead streamer flies, typically an olive woolly bugger or woolly bugger, the near deer that we like using, and those larger streamer flies. And then trailing, you'll have a nymph or a midge. In this case, we've got, in this illustration, a stonefly, a gold ribs harrier nymph, as well as a rainbow warrior midge. We tie it with about a 8 to 12 inch section of monofilament, and we'll use an improved clinch knot at the hook bend of the streamer fly, and then we'll tie in the trailing fly, be it the nymph or the midge. What we find is this one tends to be used as we're doing dead drifts, bouncing bottom or close to bottom, as well as about mid-depth, and as well as on a retrieve, getting them to strike as they are getting aggressive, especially when those rainbow trout are feeding, with the lead fly being the attractor. They see that, looks good, and then, oh, by the way, they see that trailing midge or trailing nymph, and we get a strike off of it. So do keep this one handy when you're ready to go do some fishing for some rainbow trout this season. Okay, next up is the nymph and streamer tandem rig. In this case, we'll have a lead nymph or midge, similar like we had in the last illustration or picture. You've got the stonefly, gold ribs harrier nymph, the rainbow warrior, kind of flip-flopping between each other as you work a particular area. And that is your lead fishing fly in this tandem rig. Also, you use more like a dropper line that comes off the main line, and leading or trailing is going to be that streamer fly, like the woolly bugger, like the near deer, other large streamer type fly. And it might have about 10-12 inch dropper as well, coming off the main line for that lead nymph or midge. And we're using an uni knot or some type of improved clinch knot as well, or barrel knot or blood knot, where we're taking off a strand of the tag end and using that to tie in that lead fly and then using the other end to tie into that streamer fly. Another good one to keep in handy when you're going out fishing. Okay, then let's take a look at the dry fly dropper. Sometimes you'll hear the hopper dropper rig. It could be a hopper fly as your lead dry fly. In this case, it could also be a larger, like the Patriot fly that we've used as a strike indicator, as well as a dry fly that the fish will be attracted to. We'll have a trailing nymph or midge, and it will vary from 1 foot all the way down to 3 foot in some cases, as that other trailing fly is worked under the surface. So similar to the streamer and nymph tandem rig, we're going to use an improved clinch knot tied at the bend of the dry fly, and then the trail about 1 to 3 feet, depending on what depth you're trying to target for a particular fish in that water column. Again, you can use different fishing flies, nymph, stonefly nymph, pheasant tail, rainbow warrior, the golden rib harrier nymph. Bottom line, you're fishing the surface, and then you're also targeting those fish subsurface that'll be feeding. And this is another good one to have handy, especially when you're not sure if they're going to be feeding on top versus down below. Okay, and the last tandem rig is basically a variation of the streamer and nymph tandem rig that we showed at first. We're calling it the 2-deer because it's going to be 2 streamer flies. It's going to be that lead near deer. And then from its origin, the John Deere fly. This is one that was used up in Bennett Springs a lot over there in Missouri. And we found that it worked really good the other day when we were working the Blue River. And what that gives you is a lead near deer or streamer fly, and then that trailing John Deere, and it gives it more weight. So it's going to be dropping closer to the bottom. You'll be bouncing bottom in some cases, and a lot of times, especially when those trout are lurking in the river, they'll be down fairly deep, kind of hanging away from the main current and higher water flows, and just lurking there, and then just popping up and down as a morsel goes by, be it a little bug, fish, nymph, insect, whatever. And so this is one that we found has been very effective for us, especially when we were getting ready to strike out the other day. And again, it's the lead near deer, a trailing John Deere, and an about 10 to 12 inch monofilament line to connect to, and then we use an improved clinch knot at the hook bend of the lead near deer, and then we tie in the John Deere. And with that, we'll demo how we tie this one in particular, and then hopefully some of y'all can take away maybe this upcoming weekend when you go fishing, give this one a shot. Okay, so let's go and show you how we make that 2-deer tandem rig. So we've got the near deer here, and then we've got the John Deere here. So what we'll do is we'll just grab one of these. Let's just grab this one over here. And then we'll grab one of these near deer, or correction, John Deere. And the first part, excuse me, we'll take some monofilament. This is just 6-pound test. And we'll just take a little snip. I'm just going to snip off, it's basically a foot or so, all right, of the deal. And we'll just start with an improved clinch knot that will tie to the hook bend itself, just like this. So just a straight improved clinch knot that I think many of y'all probably have tied over the years doing some fishing. So we can get it through the loop here. Pull it tight, and we'll just jam it right in there. All right, so that's it. And we'll just take our scissor, trim off the tag end here, and that will hold. And in this case, we're using 6-pound test monofilament. And then to figure out how long we want to take as the trailing fly, so this is the near deer, we're going to put the John Deere on there, right here, shortly. Right here, and this is going to be the trailing fly. So what we like doing is a little hang loose deal here. So hang loose, and That'll just give us a rough estimate as to how much line we want. So we'll just use another improved clinch knot here. All right, and we'll just check it one more time. So just do that hang loose symbol. Let's just lay it down here. There is the near deer with the improved clinch knot. And the distance we're going to use is hang loose Hawaiian style. Gets it right here. And we'll start tying the improved clinch knot to secure the John Deere or trailing fly. Just grab it here, and then instead of jamming it, we'll kind of just pull it here. So you notice how you still have about another 2 inches of play. And at that point, we'll just kind of jam it down now and get it to secure. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim off the tag end here. All right, and so by doing that hang loose and then that extra play at the end, roughly get about 10 inches or so is what we consistently get. Okay, so let's go ahead and just mark it off. So, well, we're roughly about 9 inches. So, all right, cool. So we were saying about 8 to 10 inches. So we got 9 with that one. All right, so hang loose, a little improved clinch knot. Don't jam it up there. Instead, just kind of pull it tight, and then at that point, it gives you about another couple inches, and there you go. All right,
and of course, you can always make some adjustments in this case. If you feel that it needs to trail a little bit more, again, just add some more line on there. But as a good starting point, that hang loose piece works for yours truly. But again, it's not a hard, fast rule, just mainly a starting point.
This is the setup that we were using. What we noticed is we were hanging up every once in a while on the bottom and losing our rig. And what we saw as it drifted down was kind of in this configuration where this kind of trailed back, and then this would hit bottom, or at least be ahead of it. And then hopefully you'll get a bite. In this round, we're going to talk about tandem rig fishing flies. It's a
Okay, that was more of a little demo on the tandem rig. And one thing that I want to mention is there is that one where you use the barrel knot or uni knot as the lead fly, and then you have your trailing knot. And a lot of times, let's say you've been snipping away at this thing and you've shortened it and it broke off. You're using that 6-pound mono as our line, or at least tippet in this case. You do have a little leeway in that. What you can do then is take another fly, go ahead and pre-tie it right here, and just use an uni knot configuration to jam this one in place, and now you have another dropper. All right. Let's see if I can show you what I mean. Okay. So this is the stop that we're going to use now, and let's just say it broke off. So I'll just go ahead and pull it off to the side here. Okay. So now we want to go ahead and tie a lead fly. All you'll do, and this is the same thing we do with sabiki rigs, is we'll go ahead and tie a udi knot and tie it basically sabiki style, jamming the existing knot onto the leader. So I'll just tie a quick uni knot right here. I'll just do several turns. I usually do 4 or 5, but so right here I'm just using uni knot. I'm going to use the existing knot that we used, the barrel knot, and now I've got that dropper again, and I'll now trim off this section. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so what you'll have in the end is you'll have another dropper again, taking advantage of that barrel loop or that barrel knot. Okay. And it works also with sabiki rigs when I'm doing some bottom bouncing with slab and jig rigs. I'll use that sabiki style setup where I just jam the knot with an uni knot onto another knot that's tied to the main line. Well, it's the same thing that you can do with fly fishing. All right. So let me go ahead and take you to a past trip and just show you some of the effectiveness of using a tandem rig. All right, let me go and take us there.
Here, and unfortunately, don't think we got any hits, so we had to mix it up and switch it up. Okay, so we switched it up to the Rainbow Warrior as a trailing fly, and we had a hit. Unfortunately, we didn't keep them on, so let's see if we can try getting them again. All right, so our back cast is clobbered, so we're taking advantage of the shooting head here, that commando head, and just kind of flipping it out here and just letting it drift. Taking it through this run. There's some little rocky areas here, and then just setting the hook as soon as we see it go under, at least the strike indicator. All right, we had that one hit. We just moved upstream just a little bit. See if we can get into this bubble line and hopefully get a strike. Alrighty, so it was a strikeout. It didn't land any up over the crossing, so decided to head to the island and start working that channel area that we did well in last week. So here's where we end up spending the rest of the day. Alright, got this one on a tandem rig. Not sure what it is. Looks like it went for the John Deere. We've got a trailing Rainbow Warrior. Let's see if we can get this guy in. Come on, come on, come on. Gotcha. All right. He went for the Rainbow Warrior. All right. First fish today went for a tandem rig. We got the John Deere as the lead fly this time, and then we've got that Rainbow Warrior, and he went for the Rainbow Warrior. All right. Slow drift, dead drift. Let's see if we can do it again. And we're doing just kind of working this one ledge, channel, rock, and they're hopefully hanging in that area. We'll see here in a moment. So as it turns out, you can't catch them all. In this case, we're going to be missing this strike. Missed that one. Okay, here's another bite. See if we can get them in. Very light strike. Very light strike. Oh yeah. Cheaper to keeper. Went for the Rainbow Warrior again. We'll just kind of work them here. Okay. All right. Rainbow Warrior's the key fly today. All right, that's two in the bag. Let's see if we can get another one.
Okay, and one of the key takeaways is I'm using that tandem rig. In this case, it's a John Deere with a Rainbow Warrior trailing. And you saw that I was getting one on the lead fly John Deere, but then I was starting to get that Rainbow Warrior, taking that trailing fly. And I'm working one particular location where the water is it's moving fast, but not too fast. I had fished an area just upriver, and it was a strikeout. I was not getting anything. I could see the fish or the trout getting attracted to my fly, but they weren't closing the deal. They were just looking at it, turning away, looking at it, turning away. And I tried different flies. It didn't work. And then I shifted over to the tandem rig, and that just seemed to be the go-to in this particular trip.
Very slow bite, so it's just watch the indicator for movement. Very slow drift, so it's not like last week when there was a lot of current. Instead, we're just kind of doing this slow drift and setting the hook when we see him go for it. Both of those really just kind of tapped at it and took it. Something's messing with it, but we're not getting them. Well, here's some footage that might give you an idea how we're working this channel. What we've done is we've cast upstream, and we're doing a dead drift,
kind of keeping our strike indicator in line with those bubbles, and keeping the same speed as it goes downstream. And what we're working is there's a rocky area that kind of drops into this channel, and we know that we're just working that area, hopefully getting a bite or two. And this is where we've been getting previous bites. So we're just kind of paying attention. And then what we'll do is we'll transition the fly, or correction, the line, and set the strike indicator to start working this other piece right along this island where there's a ledge also. And we're looking for any bumps or strikes or whatnot. And here we'll get a slight strike, but we'll miss them.
Alright, he got on this time. Let's see if he stays on. Alright. Jumper. Come on, come on. Alright, number 3, again on the Rainbow Warrior. Alright, here's the setup. We got the strike indicator at about, I'd say about 3 feet. Got the leading John Deere and then the Rainbow Warrior. So a little bit different than last time. Alright, looks like some consistent bites here. The action's starting to pick up since we were here this morning. Alright, got him.
Okay, and when you do see that fly or the tandem rig, you notice I've got more than the 9-inch or 10-inch hang loose length. Instead, I've got more of 18 inches. And what's happening here is, although the water's stained, I noticed after I shifted and was kind of getting some short strikes and whatnot, that when I went ahead with a slightly longer leader, I was getting more consistent hookups as well. So again, rule of thumb, try out that hang loose 8 to 10-inch lead lag fly or trailing fly distance, and then adjust. Sometimes you need to go smaller, sometimes you got to go farther or longer, and in this case longer was better.
All right, that one took a little bit bigger than the other ones. Another jumper. All right, let's see if we can not lose this guy at the net. That's why you need that deeper net, deeper bottom net. All right, a little bit bigger. Rainbow Warrior again. All right, cool beans. All right, that was number 4. All went for the Rainbow Warrior. So let's see if we can do it again. Again, dead drift, follow the bubbles. A lot more slower current than last Sunday. And hopefully we'll get another one here.
Okay, so similar to last time, we're just working that dead drift, following the bubbles with that strike indicator, giving us an idea of how we're doing with that drift. And then occasionally lifting the line and mending the line, as well as taking up the slack, just being ready for a strike. And in some cases you get them, and in some cases you don't.